Let me congratulate the organizers, and may I take it that the protocol has already been established. I've been asked to mention, I should mention that there is space outside here. There's some empty seats, and there's also a screen, so the proceedings can also be viewed just outside this door. And there's also the seating as well as a television screen. So you needn't stand up, those can sit. Lawlessness, firearms use, drug trafficking, corruption, indiscipline, materialism, high materialism, low self-esteem, high population densities in Nassau, too many bars and liquor stores, squalid neighborhoods, babies having babies, domestic violence, a drop in social responsibility and work ethic, a lack of national pride, an entrenched class of underachievers, substance abuse, a pervasive, I quote, a pervasive culture of dishonesty, greed, and casual disregard for social norms and regulation. That's a quote from the Chief Justice of Burton Hall in 1998. Antisocial behavior of various kinds. Should we have an environmental court to deal with illegal dumping and littering? We say the Bahamas is clean, green, and pristine. Socialization, how to deal with anger. Do our children know how to deal with anger in our schools? How to parent. These are themes which have been reported upon over and over on the subject of crime, which is so important and rightly deserves being the very first subject of the series of town halls. Because we've had the 1984 Commission of Inquiry on Drug Trafficking, we've had the 1994 Task Force on Education, the 1998 National Crime Commission, the 2003 Prison Reform Commission, the 2008 House Select Committee on Crime. We also now have the National Development Plan. Bahamians do not feel safe in their homes. Some crime spots, hotspots are known. It is said that a small group of young repeat offenders carry out the most violent crimes. Perhaps tougher penalties are needed for illegal gun possession. Do police have to return to the schools? Isn't better witness protection needed? An intense and sustained focus on young people is required in order to engage them in constructive career-building activities. A national youth service should be implemented to build our youth and our communities. The use of technology to detect crime. To what extent should government eavesdrop, not just on social media, but on our conversations? Should drones be employed in crime fighting? Is an improved forensic lab necessary? Is national security surveillance needed? A national spy agency? And how best can this be accomplished and paid for? In the area of prosecution, more legally trained officers are needed. I'm pleased to say that we in the Law Department have trained more and more police officers. Improved investigations, but also better decision-making regarding charges. Poor charges lead to low conviction rates. Assessment by lawyer police officers of evidence collected by investigators may improve, should improve the chances of success. Bail, parole, the death penalty. Urban renewal is also widely considered to be a constructive achievement. can better use be made of that? I've been asked to frame the discussion, and I would frame it in terms of 8 themes. I'd ask the panelists to think of and comment on 8 themes. Firstly, prevention of crime. Secondly, investigation. Thirdly, prosecution. Fourthly, the administration of justice. Fifth, punishment. 6, rehabilitation. 7, dispute resolution. And lastly, restorative justice. Comment finally on those last 2, dispute resolution and restorative justice. Are we not in a situation where people no longer settle the disputes by talking to each other, but rather they resort to violence? And so dispute resolution can be so important. Indeed, I have advocated the establishment of a center, not just for commercial matters, but also for community mediation to deal with disputes within our communities. That's what I suggest might be urban renewal 3.0. But in addition to community mediation, there would also be case management, moving cases through the courts. As Bahamians recognize that it's expensive to go to court, and I say that as a lawyer, and it is often a long time to have the case decided. Also, finally then, restorative justice. We have to find a way still of ending or slowing down the factory line of young black men to prison. It was suggested many years ago by archbishops, both Catholic and Anglican, and also by other ministers in the church, that we ought to bring not only the accused, the young accused, it applies to young offenders, bring the young offenders together with the victims. If the young offender accepts responsibility, then perhaps we ought to think of ways to mold that young offender, to prevent that young offender from becoming a recidivist after having been sent to prison, Fox Hill. And so we have the resources. We have the probation officers. We have the psychiatrists. We have also young people, older people that young people still respect, who can be put together to implement a plan of restorative justice. And so I suggest that the speakers tonight address those points with the view of offering effective and also credible solutions. Thank you very much.
Our thanks to Dr. Maynard for introducing the topic under discussion tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's let the show begin. As Mr. Stevenson mentioned, there are 4 scripted questions which have been disseminated to the panelists prior to the event. Subsequent to the 4 scripted questions, 2 audience-generated questions will be offered to the panelists for consideration, and a final question will be generated from Facebook Live users. We will now begin with the 4 scripted questions. Each respondent has 2 minutes to give their answer. The first scripted question is as follows. How do you, or how does your party, propose to improve the criminal justice system to reduce the high level of crime in our country? 2 minutes to respond. Our first respondent will be Senator Honorable Keith Bell from the Progressive Liberal Party.
Dr. Maynard, Dr. Davis, panelists, ladies and gentlemen, Bahamians, good evening. I observed the established protocol, and in the interest of time, I will get directly into answering the question. Having listened to Dr. Maynard, I would submit that the Progressive Liberal Party has produced the most comprehensive crime-fighting plan, and it's all embodied in our Charter for Governance. As I listened to Dr. Maynard just now, and his points he made, there are 4 broad pillars upon which any crime strategy must rest on. The first is crime prevention, the second is crime detection, the third is crime prosecution, and of course the fourth always has to be rehabilitation. The Progressive Liberal Party has always been a party of second chances. But let's talk first of all prevention. In order to address the 4 broad pillars, one must first of all have a plan. I would submit that our plan is embodied in this document. You can look online as well as you can get hard copies. First of all, as it relates to prevention, the Royal Bahamas Police Force, the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, and the Department of Correctional Services they are all in the forefront of our crime fight. And our responsibility of the government is to first of all provide the legislative framework to ensure that these agencies, our law enforcement agencies, have the capacity, and of course they have the resources to fight crime. This Progressive Liberal Party government has in fact not only enacted legislation, but we have also given each of these entities, these organizations and agencies, the necessary resources to fight crime. First of all, we have the Royal Bahamas Police Force. The first thing we did when we came to office was repeal the provisions of the Police Act, which tied the hands of the Commissioner of Police by placing him on contract. It was unconstitutional. The Office of Commissioner of Police, and we are one of few countries in the region where the drafters of our Constitution placed the office of the Commissioner of Police and the Deputy Commissioner in the Constitution. And they did it precisely to ensure that politicians do not interfere with the security of tenure of the Commissioner of Police. We have ensured that we have given the police force 427 officers. We have introduced 51 officers, yes. And as a result, ladies and gentlemen, we have seized in excess of 2,000 firearms and 41
Friends, in the interest of order, I would ask people to be quiet during everybody's presentation. There's to be no heckling and no interrupting the speakers. Okay? Please reserve your claps until all panelists have presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Bell, for your response. From the Free National Movement and also the candidate for Mount Moriah, we will now have Mr. Marvin.
Thank you, pleasant. Good evening. So, you heard Mr. Bell a second ago. You now see the results over the last 5 years. And so, I'm not saying that nothing was ever done. The point I'm about to make is that we have a flawed system. And we must fix that system. So the FNM is proposing a multidisciplinary, a multi-agency approach to fighting crime. Presently, our focus is almost entirely on enforcement. And that's why we're headed in the wrong direction. And so you can pump as much money, as much resources as you want to. But if you have a flawed system, the end result will also be flawed. So our focus will be on education, prevention and detection, enforcement, investigations and prosecutions, right? As well as sentencing, rehabilitation,